TJ Watt negotiations are intensifying. Pittsburgh Steelers have a deal with TJ Watt in place. Will they make the final move? My name is Peyton Kleppe, and on today's episode of Steelers Digest, we'll be breaking down the latest Pittsburgh Steelers analysis and reports regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. Real quick, if you guys are not already currently subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. Only 9% of our current viewers are actually currently subscribed to the channel. So if you click that subscribe button, we will get you the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. Let's get right into it. Pittsburgh Steelers and TJ Watt have been in contract negotiations this whole offseason. TJ's been a guy that since being drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's only been successful year after year. This guy continues to impress me, whether it is, fighting off triple teams, getting at the quarterback, even getting some interceptions here and there. This guy is always getting better, and he always seems to be around the football, always. He's getting forced fumbles, he's getting sacks, he's getting interceptions. Anything a defensive player can do, TJ Watt is doing it for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unfortunately, he only has one more year left on his current contract. He did sign this contract in 2021. It was at the time the highest paid defensive contract at the time, which was originally $28 million at that time. Obviously, the market has fluctuated and increased dramatically in the last couple of years. Big guys like Danielle Hunter has gotten big contracts from the Texans. Obviously, Max Crosby as well this offseason with the Raiders. That was the deal that kind of set all this off. He got a ton of money from the Raiders. I believe it was like $37 million or something crazy. And, Myles Garrett, he was the next guy. He broke the bank at $40 million a year for a defensive player, which is crazy to think about. But, he has broken that price point. So TJ Watt, he knows he's been more productive than Myles Garrett since coming into the league. Obviously, those two dudes are the top two pass rushers in the NFL. But obviously, TJ Watt has had more sacks, been more productive for the Steelers, had more winning football. So he wants to get what he is worth and get what he deserves to be paid. Obviously, it has been a controversial topic this offseason whether the Pittsburgh Steelers would sign TJ. But, Steelers reporter Mark Kaboly believes that TJ Watt has already received a pretty significant offer to return to Pittsburgh next year. He did say that, I am under the belief that there is a contract offer on the table right now, which is pretty significant. He also said this on his podcast, the Kaboly and Mac podcast. Kaboly is a guy that, he's always around Pittsburgh, and he is pretty reputable guy. So if he says it, it is probably true. He is always around Pittsburgh, and I do believe him. But, Watt has been absent from Steelers OTAs this offseason as he prepares to head into that final season of this contract. And, like I said earlier, Myles Garrett did reset that market for defensive players as he did sign a 4-year, $160 million deal this offseason. He is getting paid like a superstar, and TJ Watt wants to get paid like a superstar as well. TJ Watt is debatably a better player than Myles Garrett. If you look at his stats, since coming into the league a few years ago, he had 108 sacks. He's got 33 forced fumbles, 12 fumble recoveries, 7 interceptions. This dude's just been a beast since coming into the league, and he's debatably been one of the best pass rushers we've seen since guys like, some of the linebackers back in the day, like Lawrence Taylor. Obviously LT is a guy that he's above almost everybody else in NFL history. But, the dominance that Lawrence Taylor had, TJ Watt has been pretty similar. If you look at those sacks numbers, 19.5 sacks 2 years ago, 22.5 sacks, almost breaking Michael Strahan's record. It is pretty crazy to see this happening in modern day in the NFL. TJ Watt is a guy that's just going to continue to break records. He's only 30 years old. So, once people do get into that 30-year-old range, people start calling you old. They start calling you washed up. They say you don't have that potential you once had, but TJ Watt is coming off a year where he did have 11 and a half sacks, and he did miss a few games with an injury. So, in the games he did play in TJ's defense, he played pretty well. Our offense really wasn't that great, so our defense was on the field all the time, and the guys that were even playing alongside TJ weren't really playing too great. So, we did make some additions on the defensive side this offseason. Obviously, bringing in a first-round pick in Derek Harmon, a guy that will contribute. He will play as probably a day-one starter on that defensive line. But, adding guys like him and Yaha Black out of Iowa, we're really just going to add just more opportunities for guys like TJ to get those one-on-one pass rush opportunities because, last year this dude was getting triple teamed. He was getting, throwing chip blocks at him, just doing whatever they could to get TJ Watt out of the football games. If you look at games like the Washington game, though, last year, TJ Watt kind of disappeared. He had 0 stats across the board against the Washington Commanders. I also believe the Indianapolis Colts, he really did not do much. There were games where TJ did seem to fall out of the game and really did not offer that dominance where he used to be, where he was getting, multiple sack games every other week. But obviously, when you do that early in your career, you kind of set yourself up for failure because, when you get older, you tend to regress. Your body starts to break down. These injuries tend to add up. But, I still believe in TJ. I think the city of Pittsburgh and Steelers Nation also believes in TJ. And I really think that he eventually will get this deal done with the Pittsburgh Steelers, whether that is this week, whether that is next week, whether that is, at the end of training camp or right before training camp or right before the season start. I do believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers will get this deal done with TJ. Obviously, they have offered him a contract at the moment, but TJ is probably also seeing, look across the division. You see a guy like Trey Hendrickson who is standing his ground to get paid what he deserves. And TJ Watt, I think, and I think you guys think as well, he is a better player than Trey Hendrickson. So shouldn't he be getting paid more than both Trey Hendrickson and Myles Garrett? If we look at it logically, he probably should. This guy has been the best defensive player in football since Aaron Donald has retired. Debatably, if we go back those last couple years, Aaron Donald was in the league. TJ Watt was starting to get better. So, it is a little crazy, but this guy has been probably the best defensive player in the last 10 years. So this guy should be getting paid what he's worth. So I do think it is right for TJ to hold out of OTAs. Whether or not he will hold out of training camp, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think TJ Watt would do that. He is a guy that when it's time to play football, he's going to be ready to go. So I think he will come back for training camp, whether or not that deal is done or not. But, we will have to wait and see. Unfortunately, that is all I have for you guys tonight on Steelers Digest. If you guys are not already currently subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Here we go, Steelers. Peace out, boys.